Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm bringing to you my December wrap-up. December was a pretty good reading month for me because I was able to round out my reading and finish really strong. I was able to read 75 books in 2018, which was really exciting. The first book that I finished in December was Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This was a much anticipated book for me. I waited to read Lord of Shadows until November so that I would be ready for this. I actually have a reading vlog that I either just posted or I'm about to post that you can watch regarding this book, where I just talk about all my feelings. As a conclusion, this was not my favorite. Lord of Shadows was definitely my favorite book in the series. This was good in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of it was cool and fun, and I love the characters so much, so I'll read anything about them. But there was also a lot of stuff that I just didn't feel great about. I don't know. I feel mixed on it. I gave this 4 stars because it was still really good and I had a great time, but definitely not my favorite series ender from Cassandra Clare. There's definitely some issues and things. I recommend, if you are interested in the Shadowhunter Chronicles, but you are not interested in the Mortal Instruments, that you read The Infernal Devices, skip TMI, read a synopsis somewhere, and then read The Dark Artifices. And then there's also some anthologies that you can read if you want. The next book that I finished in December was The Visitors by Catherine Burns. This was a very random read. I was kind of in that weird space where Scribd had blocked me from a lot of the books that I wanted to read. This was available and I saw the cover and I thought it looked interesting, and it kind of had a thriller vibe from what I could see. I did not read the synopsis. I just kind of jumped into it, and it was a weird book. So this book takes place in England and it centers on this woman named Marion, and she lives in a crumbling mansion with her brother John. Her brother John is kind of creepy. You notice that a lot as it goes between the past and the present. He works in the basement a lot. He just doesn't give you good vibes as you're reading the book. And Marion is very naive and childlike. She was a really complex character, I think. I kind of went between pitying her, but then also not liking her, but then also kind of liking her. But like I said, she has sort of a childlike wonder about her, so she daydreams a lot. She just doesn't want to look into what her brother is doing in the basement. Yeah, it's weird. I don't really know how to explain it beyond that. I don't really want to spoil anything for you. It's just sort of thriller, but make it literary fiction. It just has a lot of those feelings that you get when you read literary fiction. But I had a good time reading it. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I started it, but I didn't hate it when it ended. The next book is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. I read this because December is obviously Christmas month for those of you who celebrate Christmas, and this is a retelling of I was gonna say of Scrooge. What is that called? A Christmas Carol. And so our main character is named Holly, and she is visited by all the ghosts of Christmas. She makes the mistake of not following what they tell her to do, and so she ends up dying. And after she dies, she is hired by this company called the Scrooge Project, and basically she gets to be the ghost of Christmas past and help other people. So as you can imagine, this is sort of an exploration of her discovering how to be a better person. I gave this book 3 stars only because I don't think it was anything complex, and the story was kind of predictable, but it was really fun. If you enjoy watching Netflix and Hallmark Christmas specials, I definitely think you'd enjoy this book. And I definitely had a lot of feels while reading it, but like I said, the writing, the characters, all of that, they just wasn't really anything special, but the story is very cute and it's a really good Christmas read. I highly recommend it if December rolls around and you're in the mood to read something that has to do with Christmas. But yeah, it's good. If you liked A Christmas Prince, you'll like this. That's kind of how I would describe it. The next book that I finished was One Hot December by Tiffany Reisz. This was a smutty Christmas book that I read for my Drunk Literacy series. In 2017, me and my roommates did this where we all read smutty Christmas books and then talked about them on camera while we were drunk. And then we did it again for 2018, and so I'll link that video down below if you want to see that. But basically, this was not good, as you would expect maybe Christmas smut to be. This book is about a woman named Flash who is a sculptor, but to pay for her passion of art, she actually is a welder by day. Her boss on her construction site is this man named Ian, and 6 months before the book starts, they had a one-night stand that didn't end up going well because Ian didn't think it was appropriate for them to keep seeing each other, and then they've just had sexual tension ever since, and they've been mad at each other and blah blah blah. And so the book takes place right at Christmas. Flash gives her 2 weeks, and then Ian takes it as an opportunity to rekindle a relationship that they had started 6 months ago. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on this book, I'll link my Drunk Literacy down below, but basically I gave it 2 stars, and that's all you really need to know. The next book that I finished, finally, was Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This was one of my most anticipated books of 2018, and I got it at Book Expo. I read a little bit every time I traveled, because I flew quite a lot in 2018, and this was always the book that I brought with me to the airport, and I kept physically reading it, and then it finally the book actually came out in October, and I still wasn't finished with it, which is kind of crazy because it was one of my most excited for books. The word I should have used there is anticipated books, but I don't know, I was trying something different, but it didn't work out. I think I had like 150 to like 200 pages left, so like I had read like a good chunk and then I had a little bit left, and so I was like finally like, okay, I need to finish this, I need to make it happen, and so I did, and it was just as amazing as I thought it was going to be. This is the second book in a duology. Basically, this series is about this guy named Laszlo. It takes place in like a fantasy setting, and Laszlo works in this city as a librarian. He is really interested in this city called Weep. No one knows if it was real, kind of like imagine like Atlantis. He is like a scholar on the topic, like he really researches and like tries to like figure out and find clues about it. And in the first book, there's a bunch of these warriors that show up from Weep, and they're like, hey, Weep is actually real and we have this problem. Can you come to Weep and help us solve it? And so obviously Laszlo jumps on that opportunity, and then he meets this girl named Sarai who is like has like these powers where she can like go into people's dreams, and they meet each other in a dream, and that's why it's called Strange the Dreamer, and then she's the Muse of Nightmares. And so it's like this whole thing. I don't really want to describe more about this because I think that this is a really beautiful book series that if you just go into it without really knowing the world, it's like really exciting and special, like if you discover it yourself. But what I love about this duology is that it explores a lot of topics that are very relevant to today, like prejudice and which side of morality should you be on, and like what do you do when the two sides actually make a lot of sense and like you can't really like quite figure out the problem. And I just love where she went with this second book. She really explored the world even deeper, and you got a lot of answers to what you were wondering in like Strange the Dreamer. And it was so good. It was so good. Love it. It's good. 5 stars. One of my all-time favorite series. The second to last book that I finished in December was Only Daughter by Snoekstra. I have no idea if I'm saying that author's name right. This is a book that I've had for so long. Like, it's really random. I think I got it in a book box or something. I don't even remember. But I saw that Scribd had it on audio, and I was like, oh, I should read that because I like own it. So basically it is a thriller that takes place in Australia, and it centers on this girl. I don't even think she says what her name is because it's in first person, but she gets caught shoplifting at a grocery store. And so she takes the opportunity to tell the police that she is this girl named Rebecca Winter who went missing 10 years earlier. Basically, she had been watching one of those like true crime shows where they're like, oh, unsolved cases. And she noticed that she looked eerily similar to this girl, Rebecca. Unfortunately, this gets her like swept up into Rebecca's life, which is pretty dark because there's a reason that Rebecca went missing. I will say, as far as thrillers go, this was not the best. I think I gave it maybe 3 stars. Like, I wanted to give it 2.5, but I actually really liked the ending. The ending actually kind of got me good, so I felt okay about that. So I gave it 3 stars, but it's not great. I don't recommend it. It's not the best writing. Like, the writing is fine as far as writing in a thriller for like twists and turns and like making you feel like, oh my god, this is a mindfuck. I don't know what's going on. This definitely didn't do that for me. I just like my thrillers to be a little bit more twisty. So if you have any recommendations for like twisty, cool, dark thrillers, please leave them down below because I really want to read more, but I hate reading mediocre thrillers. And the last book that I read in 2018, literally like December 31st, like finished it. It was the 75th book that I read the whole year, was Dating You, Hating You by Christina Lauren. I had heard a lot about Christina Lauren romance books, but I'd never read one. And this one just like randomly popped up on Scribd. You're gonna hear me mention Scribd a lot if you're like on my channel because it's like one of the main ways that I read, and it's just an amazing website. If you're interested, you can use my code down below to get a month free. It has unlimited audiobooks and ebooks, and I know this sounds like an ad, but it's really not. I don't make money off of that code. I just get a free month when you get a free month, but I digress. It centers on this woman named Evie, who is I think like 32, and she is a like talent agent in Hollywood. She meets this guy named Carter through mutual friends, and he's also an agent. Everything's good with them. They go on a date. It's amazing. But right after their date, their 2 companies merge, and they get told by their boss that they have to compete for one position at this company, and they're both very into their jobs and very competitive. So what I really loved about it is that it was like cool relationship, we like each other, and there's like a sexy scene, and then like almost like hate to love. I don't even know how to describe this book besides just saying like it was plot driven, which is really weird for romance. Like, there was a lot about their jobs, and as a woman who's in her career, and I kind of take my job seriously. I wouldn't say I'm like super competitive or like crazy about my job, but I definitely like care about my career, and I work hard at it. And so it was like really refreshing to read about a woman that was doing that in a book. And there's a lot about like sexism in the workplace and how she has to work twice as hard as the men, and she's not making as much money as she should, and there's like stuff about the wage gap and like all that. And also Carter was a really good like male lead because he like was really respectful of that and understood that, but then also he wanted the job too, so there was like cool like competition scenes. It it was just a good book. I think I'm rambling now, but basically all I want to say is that I really, really enjoyed this book because it was plot driven. It had just enough sexy stuff. I liked both of the main characters. It was a good time. I liked it. I definitely recommend it. But yeah, that is pretty much it for my December wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below any books that you read to finish out the year. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. You're all beautiful. Have a nice day.
Time passes by, I feel so low. Searching for bases, covering up the hole. I'll fight for your